Welcome to the Ignite You podcast.
Where two bros journey into all things spirituality and human transformation.
Let's get it. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man.
God, these mugs look good.
They're all right.
They hold a lot of potion.
They do. I like the size of the mug. That's the only thing I like about these mugs in particular.
Plus the graphic.
Is the size.
And the graphic.
And if you're just listening in and you can't see, even if you can see this, you probably can't read it.
It's true.
It's not big enough.
I gotta get bigger mugs.
We need
the size of this pot.
We need planted pot mugs.
Yeah. That'd be a lot of cacao and matcha.
A lot of cacao. But this is good. It says cranked on cappuccinos, which Cam's a big fan of.
Yeah. So is Ryan.
You can imagine. Only Cam is a big fan of them. But I like your shirt actually a lot.
This is a new Stay Lit shirt.
It looks really good.
Stay Lit. We got the Ignite You logo right here.
And there's going to be another logo coming soon on the wall.
There is. Oh. Ooh, the studio is about to get a makeover.
It is. I'm excited for it.
We've got it sitting right over there. We're not going to show you yet, though.
There.
But it's right there.
It looks so good.
With all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
It looks so good. So fiery. So epic. Wiley painted it custom for us.
Wiley.
Yeah,
she did.
She did.
Cool.
Pretty stoked to put that up.
It's going to be great. Tune in next week to see it. To unveil the logo on the wall.
The new Studios.
It's going to be very different.
It is. This is beautiful, but it does belong on my altar.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, my altar's looking a little bare right now.
Looking bare. That could be wild.
So Ryan called me a slut earlier.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, actually. So we were talking about it. I wanted to look it up because I was like, oh, slut can feel like something that is all right, specifically for our partners, to be called. Both of them actually. It sounds so bad. But
my partner likes to be called a slut.
She does.
A sacred slut.
Be real.
You're right.
Yep. Okay. Same here. And that's okay.
So how many women out there actually like being called sluts?
Yeah, really like it. From a conscious space, of course. Not from trauma. What we're talking about and why we brought it up, initially, I was like, oh, slut feels, good to have somebody that's a slut for me. Like, my experience with that person.
My personal
I love that.
slut.
Yeah, like, that feels great. But not
it's not toxic masculinity at all.
No, and not but my experience with. And then Cam was like, yeah, I'm a slut too. And I'm like, yeah, so I guess I am too. But then we looked it up. The definition of a slut is specified for women.
Which is ridiculous, because I want to be a slut too.
I do too. What's up with that?
Then, though, we did talk about the word whore, which is very different, and it doesn't have the same ring to it. Once again, these things aren't they're labeled for women.
Yeah, it's weird.
Not men. I don't understand. But we came to this conclusion that being a slut, we don't believe is a bad thing. And it's almost like the more you open up to your intersexuality and the promiscuous that's like, woo, inside of you, the more manifestations you get to bring to life, the more. So just slut around. You get to manifest your dreams. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, just be a slut. That's what we're saying. It is beautiful when it comes from a conscious space. Yes, sacred slut is something you brought up. And I'm honestly a huge fan of it. I love bridging those worlds and seeing that come together. Slut could be an expressed sexual self. Sacred meaning I honor that space for me or my person or a selected group that I choose.
Yes.
It's like I honor that, and I'm a little slut in my container in what I've decided I'm going to slut around in, which is my expression space.
The inner slut.
Unleash your slut. Our program's coming out soon. It's called Unleash Your Slut.
Unleash Your Slut. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that'll do really well.
Yeah, I think us running that is great.
That's going to do really well. We're not breaking any political correct boundaries there by any means. But here's the interesting thing about all of this, and that is that I guess the word slut is only derogatory because of how toxic society's view on sexuality has become.
Yeah.
Like, to be like, oh, you're a slut because you sleep around. Sex is amazing. Sex is beautiful. And if you're sleeping around with people in a conscious container, in a container of consent, intentionality, because you like to explore the realms of sexuality, yeah, I'm a slut.
Yeah. Embrace your slut.
But I'm not a woman, so apparently I can't.
I guess you can't
one.
be. You can't be. So maybe we shouldn't run that program because
No.
we can't be sluts yet.
But then again, what is gender?
Oh, don't. Please don't. Don't do that.
Okay.
Not here.
We won't go into that. But
yes.
I digress.
Don't.
Because that's a whole that is
Stop
a
it.
whole episode in itself that would be extremely controversial.
Yeah, but embracing, okay, let's say we could be sluts. Let's say we are currently embodying the masculine slut.
Yeah.
The masculine sacred slut.
What about man whore?
Whore, though, again, you're going down
I know,
that
but if
path.
it's a man, like, is that
Man
like the
slut?
is that like
You
the
mean a man
is
slut?
that the warrior version of being a slut?
A warrior?
A man whore. It's like,
I'm going to war as a man whore. No.
no?
I don't think so.
I feel like it sounds more badass.
Paid
Like it's,
for it. It feels different.
It does. It does. And, you know, nothing against prostitution, but that's not a career path that I feel like embarking on.
No, not currently.
No, not currently. It could change. Or life's organic. You never,
Life is organic.
you never know. Maybe Ignite You and Embody just won't work. And before we know it, we become... No, I don't ascribe to that.
Man horse that go to war. What I was going to say before you took us on that journey, very visual for me, actually, which is weird. Being a slut in this experience, which means fully expressing sexually, we both had stories around.
Yeah.
We both have blocks around, which kind of ties into what we're going to go into today. But we were talking about that before this episode. We were just dropping in a little bit. We're like, yeah, it's so different the way we're able to explore sexually now as our little slutty selves, but with the person we choose.
Yeah.
But being able to fully express in that, I know you can speak volumes to this, but that's been such a beautiful journey to start really coming into that space.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's one thing that Tantra is so good at.
Yeah.
You know, it's this understanding of sexual energy. Because I guess for so long, you know, I thought that sex was just sex, right? And you because it feels good. But there's so much more to it. And when you start to understand that, you know, like our last episode, we start talking about magic and all of these different forms of manifestation that come from harnessing more creative energy inside of us, you start to realize, wow, sexuality is actually not only pleasurable and enjoyable, but it's actually extremely powerful and really supports us in igniting our souls and bringing what we want to bring to life. So yeah, I think Tantra's really opened me up in that space to totally reframe and change my story around what sexuality really is and how it fits in my life.
How did that initially become your story? Like, was it a lot of different influences growing up as a boy? Or did you have somebody you kind of looked at of like, oh, this is the sexual experience? I've never asked you that, and I thought I'd ask you now.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's the growing up being programmed by our surroundings kind of, I guess, outcome. You know, there was this term. I'm trying to remember if I can get it right. I haven't said it in a long time, which is a very good thing. Okay. But it was along the lines of like, if a man has sex with a lot of women, he's a pro, and if a woman has a lot of sex with men, she's a hoe. It was this whole energy around like, it's positive for men to a lot of women, and then if a woman sleeps around, then she's up, like she messed up. And so there was this big divide, I think, from a young age of being like, oh, I'm a guy, I can just go and sleep around and whatever, it's great. And then you see a girl that had slept around with a bunch of people and you're like, oh, like she's tainted or whatever that was. And so I think it was a massive evolution of that original program that I think a lot of people can resonate with. Sure. A lot of women are like, yeah, like I don't want to be a hoe, so I didn't sleep around. Or they're like, I embraced my hoe-ness and I slept around. And guys are like, I just want to sleep with as many women as I can because it makes me seem like I'm a stud, like I'm cool, you know? And that's not all men, but I think that for most men, that was kind of the thing. It was like, we've talked about this before a bunch of times, where it was like the more numbers we had, the more social status it gave us.
Yeah, I definitely relate with that for sure. It was even closer in my household because I grew up with boys and my dad was very much in that world as well. So yeah, it was very much embedded in the fabric of my house.
Yeah.
And I even mentioned this before. I didn't have a friend that was a girl until I was 20.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about now. It's so wild, but I just didn't even invite that in. It wasn't allowed by the surrounding. I definitely wasn't celebrated in that. It was like, no, you better be hooking up with her if you're spending time with a girl.
Yeah.
So it's just so cool to see how now we relate to this when it was very, very different, even just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love how quickly stories can shift and change.
For sure.
And it can be one moment, or it can be just an escalation of different moments.
Yeah.
But I love that we're going into this topic today because it's so real and alive in different ways. We can take perspective now of being like, wow, it was really just that one question, or it was really just that one event that I went to, or that one person, or that one thing that I saw. I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't an invitation like, here, this is what you do. It's like, I don't want that. I know I don't want that. Yeah. So I know what I do want.
Definitely.
Now.
Definitely. I love.
What?
We talk about sex so much.
This is a sex podcast.
That's what it is. You know, and to be honest, Ryan and I, before we started this podcast, we had this desire to start like a TikTok channel or an Instagram called the Tantric Bros, and then which might still come at some point, but it's been really funny to see how much sex has become a topic of conversation on this podcast, and how much it has opened our eyes to the programs and stories and, you know, subconscious aspects of ourselves. You know, I was talking with my buddy Leo, who lives next door to me right now, about temple and about sex, and we were talking about this ability of sexual containers to really bring your patterns, programs, insecurities, and everything to the surface. Unlike most things, right? There's really no hiding in it. And so I just think it's funny how so much of this podcast relates to sex, but it's like, really, in a sense, sex is a wild medicine that brings everything to the surface. So
it's true, and sex is life.
Yeah.
Life is sex.
Yep.
Okay. So there it goes.
That's it.
We're just talking about life here.
That's it. This is life. Are we talking about life or sex? Or
there's the same.
It's the same thing.
Stay lit up for life. What we're saying is stay lit up for sex.
Yeah. Okay, sick. Yeah, right on. Pura vida.
Awesome. Well, that was about 14 minutes of banter. Sweet.
Potentially nonsense. However,
it ties in.
It does tie in to what we're talking about today. So we run a challenge. We've talked about this challenge before.
We do.
But it's exciting. We're running our last one of 2022. And we've put over 800 people through this challenge, which is pretty cool when you start looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hundreds.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And so we're, you know, this challenge that we're running this week coming up is all about changing your story. You don't have to have sex in the challenge, okay? It's not all about sex.
Yeah, actually, our events and what we hold in space, we actually don't talk about sex.
We don't have sex.
We don't have sex at our events virtually.
Come to our retreat. It's going to be amazing. I feel like our podcast is one of our sexual outlets.
Yeah, it
is.
is.
The events, the retreats.
It's a lot more unfiltered.
You
just get us completely unfiltered. This is the most unfiltered.
We'd be talking about this regardless of whether or not you were here or not.
We're not.
Whether or not you were here.
You're here. Nobody's here, Cam.
Nobody's
here.
They're right here. In the
Okay,
realm
Kim.
where there is
Okay,
no
Kim.
time and space, this person is listening to it right here in this moment in space. Who am I quoting there?
Oh, Joe
Dr. Joe.
Dispenza. Oh, I thought we were gonna. Joe Dr. Dispenza. That's who we're quoting.
Joe Dr. Dispenza. Yeah, we're going to tag you in that.
We're
We got your
tagging
name
that.
right.
We'll just cut that right there. Great. Oh, it's warm in here.
It is. We sweating.
We are.
Move to Costa
Is
Rica.
it warmer than usual, the AC? 24 seems warm. Usually about 19.
We can drop it.
Can we drop it?
No, too much noise will come from my chair.
Like it's hot? We are. I do want to drop it like it's hot because it's currently hot.
I was trying to do that. It didn't work.
We're still bantering. The Change the Story Challenge actually starts the day that this podcast comes out. So if you're watching this and you want to come into the challenge, you're probably too late, honestly. That's not what this is about. We're here to share about the challenge. We're here to share about what it is, our experiences with changing our stories, and we actually have somebody's story as well that we're going to end up sharing in this episode, which is so deeply profound, earlier this year when we had one of these challenges.
And we're going to give you the formula to change your story. Because
go.
for us, these challenges are a great avenue to connect with the community and guide people through a week of changing a limiting belief or changing a program. So we want to make sure that you can ultimately use these tools whenever you want. And that's why we want to include them in this podcast as well. Because a lot of times you got to wait a couple months. So we thought we'd record this so you can have the tools. Now, this is no replacement for the challenge by any means. The energy that we create in those things is fuego.
It is fire.
But we will have a good breakdown for you in this podcast on how you can change your story.
Because you are your own healer. And that's the theme of what this is about. The tools that we provide, the space that we hold, just gives you the opportunity to notice that you are your own healer. And that's what it goes about in anything we share. That's what we're talking about all the time, is bringing it back to you. We're just providing things, insights, and tools that we've learned and gained along the way, but you're your own healer.
100%. Oh my, you scratched my floor.
I threw it so hard.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did. So Ryan,
Cam.
why don't you kick us off? Give us a story you've changed.
Oh, yay.
Story time with Ryan Miller.
Okay. A story that I've changed, a big one that I shifted, and it was just the biggest block that I had in my life growing up. And it's funny because I actually had a friend that was here. I just talked to him last night. I met him up for dinner, and he knew me when I was in high school, like earlier in high school. And it was funny because he reflected saying, you were so shy back then. You were so like secluded and didn't seem like you had any friends. And he was like, I'm just so surprised you're doing what you're doing now. That's who I was, especially leading up like elementary into high school. Later years in high school, I started actually building this confidence, but it was this falsified confidence. We'll talk about that another time. But the story was, I'm not smart enough. That story is a version I know a lot of people experience. I'm not smart enough. But for me, it was in my speech. It was in my voice. I had a literal speech impediment growing up.
Which is fucking crazy because the way that you speak on this podcast, I've had people reach out. They're like, oh my God, Ryan's voice is so sexy. The way he articulates his words.
The way he articulates.
Just brings me to a space.
The way he doesn't stutter. The way he doesn't have a speech impediment.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
You got silk, baby.
You got silk.
Woo!
That wasn't what was happening when I was growing up.
No.
Like early on, this was, I think it surfaced in about second grade. It started becoming obvious that I wasn't at the same speaking level as other kids. I had extra classes, all these other experiences that took me out from the regular experience of a kid in school. So I had extra education around speech, all of this growing up, and never helped. All the way through my senior year of high school, I had extra classes. And even out of high school, I still was blocked around my speech. And if anyone's listening to this that knew me at the end of high school or right after, you probably thought I was confident in that space. But I was really holding back what I would say and what I would express with my voice because I was afraid to be judged for being stupid. That story is completely different now, as you could probably tell, and how much I love to express with my voice. And it didn't take a teacher teaching me how to change my voice. It didn't take reading something and then discovering how, I just need to change that in my throat. It took one person asking me one question. It took somebody that I looked up to seeing me in my struggle and asking me the question of, why are you holding back with me? The moment that this person, who was my good friend, I was coming up on 20 at the time, we were at a fishing trip. It was just him and I. We were spending time together. He was talking. I was doing the yeah, kind of following along with him. But he noticed I wasn't having input. I wasn't fully giving myself to the conversation. I was just kind of leading him on. And he just stopped the conversation. He's like, why are you holding back with me right now? And it could sound like such a simple question, but I was just like, you see me. You can see that I am doing that. Nobody's ever seen that, or at least nobody's ever told me they can see that. Like, how can you tell? I'm nodding, I'm doing the thing. Like, I'm making it look like I'm with you in the conversation, but I'm not. I'm scared. I'm scared for you to see that I'm stupid. And he, without me even saying anything, he's like, I know what you're doing because I thought I was stupid growing up too. Like, he literally just bluntly said that. I was like, what?
Spotlight on
I was
the
like,
pattern.
which is bold because
Hello.
if I didn't think I was stupid, that's a bold move to say that. But he said that. He's like, I can see it in you because I know it in me. And that is the medicine. He saw in me what he knew in himself, and he healed. So he could bring that forward. And through the simple question of, why are you holding back with me? A sigh of relief, just, wow, okay. What do I do? How do I start to cultivate something differently here? And so he just invited me into, I want you to start asking people questions because people want to talk about themselves. So I want you to just go to people, he said 10 people in the next 2 days, and ask them questions about themselves. See what happens there. And in that, I realized through questions, enthusiasm would come through. People would start speaking more, and through them speaking more and me actually engaging that, I start to build confidence. I'm like, I asked you that and you went there with that question? Oh shit. Okay. I can influence what you do and I can excite you with my voice.
Yeah.
Oh. And it's about that switch. There's something there, and I never had a speech impediment after that day. Never. When he asked me why am I holding back with him, never happened again. And it just takes that moment, that one question, that one person that just, I trusted him so much. I looked up to him so much. I could have denied it, right? If I didn't look up to him, I could have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I see you. Oh,
dude, that's so good. And that's so powerful because
yeah.
Your challenge and your story was all around communication, and then you found out that in order to be an effective communicator, you just had to ask questions.
Yep.
And it immediately shifted and rewired that.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. And that's, I think that's such a breath of fresh air for somebody on this journey because, we think about transformation and this like, oh my God, I got to spend like 10 years on this journey and I'm going to have to do this. It's like, no, that can happen in an instant. It can happen in a moment. And that's why people have come up to me sometimes. And I know to you the same. They're like, you guys can't transform a limiting belief in 5 days. I'm like, well, yeah, you can. You really, truly can.
Yeah.
It can happen in an instant, right? And so I love that because, and that's such a beautiful thing to learn. So many people talk. I've read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and one of the main topics he mentions is ask questions. Be curious about other people. It will build your confidence. It will build your business. It will build all of these things. So that's so powerful, man, that you could experience not only that healing, but gain that gift and that new superpower in that alchemy.
Yeah.
Woo!
Dude, it was amazing because what was blocking me was I thought I had to know it all. But once I realized curiosity is what actually matters, then I started to know things.
Yes.
As I asked questions.
Listen up, people. That's so powerful.
That's it, though. That's it. It's like we think we have to know the answers. People don't give a
No.
If you're curious and you ask questions, people are like, oh, yeah, I want to share. I'll tell you.
Totally.
Yeah, I love your curiosity. Especially as adults, as full-grown humans. It's so rare that you meet somebody that's genuinely curious.
Facts.
Even though we all are curious. We all don't know. There's so much here to know and to unfold and to discover. But we're all like, oh, no, I know the
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
It's like... Truly.
No, I hear you, man. I really do. And that's just like, it's so funny because none of us know.
No, I don't know.
I don't even know where I am right now. But no, the more we go on this path and the more we explore these realms of consciousness and even the human body, the gut, the brain, energy, quantum physics, all of these things, it's like everything's a theory because we actually don't know anything. Yeah. You know, and
I don't.
Oh.
But it is amazing. But how amazing is that? As like an invitation to be like, oh, I don't have to know.
Yes. Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom.
There you go. That's my story.
That's it. And you changed it.
Changed it. Of course, little pieces of it still creep in. Of course. And because of that shift, the speech impediment never resurfaced. And I have the tools and everything that's available for me to be like, ha, nah, when that story resurfaces. And it's beautiful to be there for it.
You have
and
that
to
awareness.
recognize where it came from and how it served me and how it held me in a way to keep me safe, which we'll go into when we talk about the story and how we go through the challenge and how we map that out.
Yes.
Because every story, every limiting belief we have does keep us safe and does have its purpose. That purpose just might be outdated.
So safe.
So safe.
But what good things come from playing safe?
Safety third. All right, Cam, tell us about a story you had. Story time with Cam.
Story time with Cam. There's been so many freaking stories. There's a story almost every day.
Of course.
Where I wake up and I'm like, I need to change this.
Yeah, there's always stories. But give us a big one. Give us a juicy one.
Yeah, so and you know, this is one that I share a lot in the challenges when we're going through the presentations. And my biggest story that I lived with for so long, and I, just like you, I still deal with, was this story that I am broken. It was a story that I am broken. And from about 5 years old, I had therapy because I was, you know, a child full of energy that just did not know how to function in the realm of normalized society. You know, my uncle, he always told my mom, Cam can't be in school. He needs to be running around in the forest with a sword. That's actually what he said. He would describe me as a kid being like, he just needs to go cut trees down and lose his in the forest for 4 hours a day and he'll be good. He was right. I do that now as a 36-year-old man.
Yeah, you do.
But I had my desk in the principal's office. I had therapists. I had counselors. I had millions of professionals telling me that I had ADD. And then when ADHD started trending, I ended up having ADHD. And then it was give him medication, you know, suppress him, all of these things. And thankfully, Mom, I love you. You were in the pharmaceutical world. So you're like, nah, you're not giving my kid that.
Which is amazing, even though she was in that world, to not stick to
It's almost like the people in those worlds know the most about them and how bad they are.
Interesting.
We won't go into that, though. Anyways, it was this constant issue with teachers, with, you know, parents, with other kids is, oh my God, Cam, all these different things. So I had this internal story that I was broken. Society doesn't accept me. I'm broken. Which is why I turned to gangs, which is why I turned to violence, which is why I turned to drugs, isolation, all of these different things, was because in those places it was full of renegades that were also ostracized from society. They actually accepted me for my wildness.
Yeah.
However, every time I would step back into the realm of society, it was you're broken, you're broken, you're broken. And one way that this really manifested within me was hypochondria. So I had this belief that I was broken, and that led to a belief that I was always sick. And so I would be like, oh my God, what's this? And I go to the doctor, like, Cam, those are your lymph nodes. Like, relax. I'm like, oh my God, it's a tumor. And, I had this crazy amount of fear and anxiety around my health because I had this constant belief that I was broken. And so I lived with that and I worked on that. And there were so many things that I did to try and shift that originally, but no one could meet me where I needed to go. No one had that level of intensity that could actually guide me into that space. And when you're going in and out of jail and all this court and all this stuff, you got people like, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, everything you do is wrong. And so I was just like, well, I just don't belong here. Like, this is which, I won't go too deep down this, but it led to a realm of, having suicidal ideation, having all of these things of being like, I don't belong here. Like, my soul must have slipped, tripped, and fell in the wrong dimension because this place is that was kind of the energy that I had. Then I went to Mr. Dr. Joe Dispenza's advanced retreat. And so to bring some clarity to this, I still had this hypochondria and this fear. Well, I still do, but I'm still working on it and I'm aware of it. Up until not too long ago, it was something that I always dealt with.
It's a couple of years ago, right?
A couple of years ago, exactly. Yeah. I think about 2.5 or 3 now when I went to Dr. Joe. And when I went to Dr. Joe, he met me with this level of intensity that I went, oh, baby, here we go. This isn't a joke. This is real. This is that real. This is that good. And he led me into a space where I was so deep in meditation. I was so connected to the divine, to the quantum, to all of this stuff that I started vibrating. And I've explained this on one of our other episodes, but I started vibrating and just coming to this place. And in the back of my mind, it went, oh, I'm having a seizure. I'm having an aneurysm. The story kicked in and it was like, no, you're going to die. Something's wrong. Stop. And I pulled back the first time. When I realized that and I saw that story, and Dr. Joe in that moment or just after said, you got to be willing to go beyond your fear. You got to be willing to meet that fear. You got to be willing to dive into the darkness within you to meet that fear, to make that shift. I went, if I die right now, I don't give a because I am so tired of living with this program, with this belief, with this pattern of thinking that I'm broken. And I was like, let's go, baby. And I dove in and I did the breath harder than I've ever done it before. And I got to this place where it just build. And I exploded. And in that moment, I was like, I'm dying. I was just in this space. I was like, I'm going to die right now. Long story short, I didn't die. I'm still here.
A version of you died.
But a version of me died. That story died because I went, I'm not sick. I'm not broken. I'm powerful as because I'm willing to go into this fear of death, this fear of illness, meet it, step through it, shatter it, and realize there's this powerful being on the other side. And in that, I just stood there and I, in that moment, instantaneously realized that I was divine by design. I was a powerful being. I was limitless. Even if I did die, I'd be able to handle it. I'm not broken. Everyone's had it backwards. I'm powerful as And I stood in that power, and I am so grateful for Dr. Joe's work for that moment because it just exploded a part of me. And it aligned and attuned me to a powerful part inside of me that I kept avoiding because of this story.
Wow. Dude, I've heard that story a few times in different ways, but this time it resonated so deeply. And I heard something new even. And it's that you needed to go to a place where that story was, because what you were most afraid of was the intensity. You needed to go right into it, right to it, to then realize the bliss on the other side. You need to be confronted with the intensity that you knew you had in you. You need to be matched in that and brought up in that. That's powerful, man. It's so often we try to bypass with positivity or like just say an affirmation and you'll feel good. You'll change the story with an affirmation.
No, you won't.
Nope. Go into the depths
of your darkness.
Yeah, but seriously, that's a theme in both of our stories. It's just different. For me, it was like, oh, you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, a sigh of relief. For you, it was, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now I can really live.
Yes.
It's the same thing. And that's so beautiful. When you go into it, when you dig.
Yes.
When you go into that experience,
sure.
you actually dive into it rather than try to skirt around it and like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to just make sure I'm going to change it, swap it out.
Yeah.
So, no. You got to see where the story comes from. You got to recognize it. You got to see where it came from, why it served you.
Yes.
And now we get to shift it.
Yes.
You got to feel it. You got to go into it.
100%.
Dude,
potent. And it's funny because in that, Dr. Joe says at the event, he says, you got to meet your block with a level of intensity that surpasses it.
Yeah.
So if you have a trauma, you got to go in a space that you can be held. So you have to be safe. And don't get me wrong, some people get kind of from this. Like it can go sideways. However, life can go sideways any moment of any day. But you have to go to this level of like, I am doing this and I don't give a and I am bigger and more powerful and operating from a higher frequency that I'm going to shatter it.
Yeah.
And it happens in an instant.
Yeah.
Now I see it and I'm like, you ain't got on me.
Yeah. Transformation happens in an instant with intensity. When you really bring it forward. And intensity can look very different for every person.
No, it just has to be one way, and
It's
it's,
like
it's as hard as you go.
It's like, because Cam and I are very intense people already. So it's like you're
People are
seeing
like,
this, you're like,
I'm going to leave.
I'm going to turn this volume down and shift the podcast.
We had a lot of cacao and a lot of matcha. So.
We always say that every episode. We're very activated most of the time. And intensity looks different for everybody. It can be different emotions moving through you. It can be different experiences. Intensity is different for everybody. But when we bring intensity into our story, our limiting belief, and we surpass that, like you're saying, transformation can literally happen in an instant.
100%.
It's beautiful. Okay, let's go into the method.
All right. The method. So I guess the most important thing here, and this is what we like to tell people at the beginning, is you can change stories just by having an experience. It makes you kind of see it and be like, oh, I didn't know this was there. That can definitely happen. And for both of us, you know, I already knew that pattern was there. So I think yours was more like, oh my God, I didn't know this was here, but now it's here. Boom, shifting it.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of knew this was there, so I had to meet it. But in order to really be acute and intentional with shifting a story, especially in the containers that we create, you have to declare it. You have to know what that story is. And you have to be able to articulate it in a way that's quick, concise, and to the point.
Yeah, we make people do it within a minute on a live video on Facebook. That's how we approach it. And to actually acknowledge what you were saying, me not knowing the story, because I really believed it was me. So I was like, that's not a story. It's who I am. And so when we identify with it, it's hard to see that it's literally not me at all. It's a story. So that's where the declaration comes in so powerfully. You declare it and you're like, oh,
create separation.
You're like, that's there.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes.
Interesting.
And we basically tell people to be able to put it in one sentence where it's my story is that I am broken and unworthy of love.
Boom.
You know, that was one of my stories. And so it's making it clear, concise, not like my story is this and it could be this and then there's a part over. It's like, no, what is it, to the point?
Yep. We make them type it out above. So yeah, if you're wanting to take this and you can't make it into a challenge right now, we literally make them do a video. It's a minute. And then type it out above as a statement. You're declaring that story. You're stating it out. This is my story. Beautiful.
The second phase that we go into is the reframe. And Ryan alluded to this already. This is the topic of understanding that your story has protected you. It has served you. And it's not something that you should hate. A lot of people come into our challenge and like, this, I want to change it. I'm so tired of this. I get it. we get upset about the things that block us from living in the expression we want to live from. However, it served you at some point to keep you, quote unquote, safe.
Yeah, and it's funny how often in that day one, people are like, this is my story. I'm going to change it. I'm going to get rid of it. I hate it. And it's like, no. We're just naming the story. Then day two, we go into telling it how it served us. And it throws people off. It does. Because they're like, wait, we're here to change it, not love on it. It's like, yeah, but you got to see that it was serving you. You got to see that it actually did protect you. You got to see where you got it from. Because you adopted that story. You took it on. You took it on for a reason to keep you safe. So yeah, it's true.
And we won't get into too much of the theory right now because this is an hour-long presentation that we do in the challenge. But you grow up thinking that everything you're learning is keeping you alive as a baby. You learn like a sponge to understand how to operate in this world. So most of our beliefs, our patterns, our programs come from our youth, come from our parents, come from experiences as children, generally from the moment you're born until you're about 7. That's not to say we don't develop stories as adults. We definitely do through trauma, through all these different experiences. But it's important to know that these stories, especially with trauma, that's a great way to look at it. If you've been shot at, that trauma, that story of the potential of being shot at is keeping you from being shot at again. So PTSD makes sense. But it's understanding that it served you at one point, thanking it for that, giving it that love, that compassion, that honor, and then saying goodbye, parting with it.
Yes. Number 3, which is day 3 for us, which is when we dig.
Oh, dig it.
We go into it. And I also alluded to this earlier as well, because that's how we're able to move and start shifting this story. We start seeing our power. We start seeing what we're capable of. We start digging into, we start going to a place of intensity that Cam was alluding to, that I was alluding to. In both of our stories, we had to be like, I'm going to this place that I'm uncomfortable with, but I'm going to do it. Yes. And then on the other side, you find that you are capable. The body is capable, which comes back to the body for this one.
For sure. A lot of the time, the physical body. And this is resilience. This is that David Goggins energy of like, I don't give a I'm going in. And I'm so thankful for CrossFit for this in my life, not for the bursitis and the tendonitis and the issues that came from being a CrossFit athlete, but it taught me resilience. And I think that this is something to really look at for a lot of people. When there's a resistance to physical discomfort, there's generally a resistance to any form of discomfort. And fitness is a great way to really put yourself in a place of discomfort and to really train that resilience.
Yeah. I mean, it's known that athletes have more resilience in their body and then also coincide with emotional resilience. That's usually a factor of both. When you get the body more resilient, you're able to navigate emotions in a different way than the average person that doesn't train that ability. So resilience shows up across the board, which is why in the challenge, this day, when we dig, is physical.
Yeah.
This day is like, a lot of the times it's energetic, emotional. We're moving through a lot of emotion, things coming up. This day is like, we're going in.
Yeah. And we're pushing that physical boundary.
We push it. It can look like we've done ice baths before. We've done 100
burpee
burpees.
Challenges. We've done horse stance.
We've done other ones.
Oh, yeah. There's been a ton of different things.
But whatever it is, we literally get the people to go into that experience and to dig. So they're actually live on Facebook while they're in this experience to just be inside of what's coming up, to share what's coming up, and to be witnessed in that and to dig in that. And everyone, no matter how they go through that experience, no matter if they could hold it for the amount of time we asked them to, or if they had to take a break, come back to it, whatever their version was, again, everybody's version of intensity is different. They come out on the other side like, holy I'm strong. Wow, that was much more than I thought I could do.
Yes.
It's always that. Like, that was easier than I thought.
Yes.
Wow, 5-minute ice bath was not that hard. Like, I didn't know I was able to do that. It's like, exactly.
100%.
We are so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
Goodness.
Every time.
So much.
Every time.
And we have people join this challenge that have 4 kids, have never done anything in this realm. They're like, I can't even go for a jog. Like people with chronic illness, people with so many limitations across the board that show up. Yes. And we're going to actually play a note we got from one of our clients after one of these challenges for you in a little bit. But I remember watching Callie Mae in the challenge when she was doing 100 burpees, and she had gone through a lot of physical trauma.
Yes.
And to see her with she had like 5 kids.
Well, she leads wild. A preschool, and so she had kids around her like running around, and she's just pushing
moving,
emotion. She's like, I can do this.
It was goosebumps.
Wow.
Oh, it was beautiful.
So beautiful.
Beautiful.
So, and the kids were like also started doing it with her.
Yes.
She's like, I can. And she did it. And it was just at the end, just cried and just such a big release.
Which
capability.
She told me before that, she messaged me and said, I can't do this. Yep. Can I have an option? Can I have another option? And I said, no, you can do this. And I pushed her. And honestly, I was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go for her. It really depends on how she meets it. And she showed the up. She leaned in. And all she needed, though, was someone to say, you can. You got this. To see her in her power. Yep. And then she harnessed that within herself. And it was on a whole other level.
We go on and on about her. We're going to have a little video of her that she shared. Just so
heartfelt. And a true testament to an individual that entered a container and found her own power within that container to become her own healer.
Exactly.
Step number 4 is reprogram.
Oof. Big day.
This is a really big day. And this is the day that we offer a full breathwork journey online. Day 1, you've declared. You've gotten clear on exactly what it is you're here to shift. Okay? Day 2, you've started to reframe and understand and give love to this pattern, to this program. Day 3, you now know how to move through the physical resistance to change, which sets you up perfectly for a breath journey. Yes. You have the clarity, you have the open heart, and you now have the physical resilience to move through the limitations that are going to come up to enter your subconscious programming.
Oof. It's so powerful. Breath, we've noticed over the years of doing this, you've been doing this for a long time, how healing it can be because of how deep you can go. You go beyond the conscious into the subconscious, and you start working in that area rather than just, this is the current reality. Okay, I'm here. Through the breath, you bust through that. Mm-hmm. You bust right through it and see what is really there. The reprogramming starts coming in, and you lead these so beautifully. It's always such a journey in that to see people come through, and so many emotions, so many possibilities in the breathwork space, but always moving through what we've been going into the past couple days. It's powerful.
So powerful. And the cool part about this is that a lot of times people come out of that breath journey with a much deeper understanding of the pattern and program, because your conscious mind will keep you focused on what you think it is. The moment you dip into the subconscious and you actually understand the root and the sensations and where that pattern, that program really comes from, you start to understand, holy this is because of X, this is because of Y. And a lot of times it's through that people go, wow, this actually isn't mine.
Yeah.
And you actually learn from your subconscious where you adapted to that story in order to survive.
Where you adapted to it or adopted it from somebody else.
100%. 100%.
Powerful.
And go ahead.
I was going to go into the next day, but you have more.
Well, I was just going to say that, I've done a lot of forms of healing and a lot of different forms of medicine. And to be honest, when you look at breath work and meditation and you combine those two and you use the breath to dip into the subconscious and vice versa, there's nothing that I've found that reprograms the system like it. And I have a feeling it's because it's an endogenous, meaning coming from the inside experience.
Yeah.
Medicine is very powerful to show us wild stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of medicine. But a lot of people have blocks to the endogenous production of these medicines. And when you break through that block and you actually learn to create these chemical reactions, particularly secreting DMT within yourself, magical rewiring happens. It's almost like you're breaking through these layers and layers and layers. And once again, this is why the resilience is so important, is because you get to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it's this massive, oh, here's the playground. Here's where we get to go. And so that's why personally I'm such a fan of breath work, is because it just pushes you so deep to become your own healer, to lead your own journey, and to find your own power.
That's the thing. Yeah, because it's within you and you get to realize that. Yes,
Totally.
you're guiding. Yes, we're holding. But they are in control. Mm-hmm. They are the ones actually showing up. They're deciding if they're going to lean in more.
Totally.
They're deciding if they're going to slow down, like you did at Dr. Joe.
Totally.
Oh, I should probably stop. No, I'm going in.
Yes.
So yes, you're your own healer in this space. And if you're new to breath work, we always recommend you have somebody holding you. You go to a group breath work or private session, or you come into something like this challenge, because we hold you and guide you in that space. Because it can also, like anything that's going to alter your state, it can be dangerous. So it can be harmful in that space, especially if you're not with somebody that can hold you in the right way. And if you don't feel safe in the first place and you try going into this, that's going to you up.
For sure.
You got to feel safe. You got to feel held, and then you can really go.
Yes.
Then you can really dive in.
Yes.
So we always recommend that, of course. If you're taking this and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do all these things and go into it, just be aware, if you haven't played with breathwork before, to have somebody holding you or to do more research into this.
Yes.
But always recommend a guide, a facilitator.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Brings us to day 5.
Yes.
Where we come alive.
Yes.
This is our day to embody. It's my favorite day. I love this day a lot.
Lead this
I
day.
lead this day because I love this day.
Beautiful.
It's the day of play. It's the day of
play.
Day 5, we come alive, the day of play.
Wow.
It's to actually really start feeling alive. It's to take everything we've learned and to amplify the version of ourselves that we will embody. So we're doing that on this day. We get into our body and we live as if we are already at that place we want to be. And in turn, that takes the place we want to be into the present moment, and we are living as that version of ourselves. So then we are that version of ourselves. We are alive. We are activated. We are ignited. And so we come together as a community and we do some weird we play. We get so weird.
But people love it.
It's so great.
It's so amazing.
Because it's like, oh, I would never do this. Like, this is wild. But it just
like,
gets
I'm
you,
doing what in
like,
my kitchen?
Exactly. You shed everything. You're like, it, I'm going in.
Yeah.
I'm getting weird. I'm getting playful. I'm getting just overly excited and moving everything. And you just notice how quickly you can shift your state from a place of like, oh, I don't know, to just, just by doing a few things in your body, shifting posture, shifting movement, music, community, coming together, shifting that state to embody the place you want to be, which then makes that place what's currently your reality.
Boom. I love that so much. And I love how you lead these, because you're weird.
For sure.
But like, I love it. I'm weird. But we're weird in different ways.
Yeah.
But the way that you invite people into their own weird is so beautiful. And here's the thing. At the beginning of this challenge, people don't have the capacity to embody. So many people on the spiritual path go, I want to live like X. You can't do it if you're full of Y. If you're full of pain, if you're full of these stories, if you're full of these limitations, it might seem great to be able to fully express. It might seem great to manifest more financial abundance. It might seem great to build the business of your dreams. It might seem great to attract the partner that you've always wanted. But if you don't have the capacity within yourself to cultivate the energy to attract those things to you, it won't happen. And this is what igniting the soul is all about. It's about clearing all the out so that you can increase the capacity within yourself to cultivate the energies that you want to live from and attract the life that you want to yourself.
Yes.
And so embodiment and the last day of just living from that expansion is so powerful, because so many people have never felt that openness, have never felt that capacity, because they've got all these dense vibrations holding them down and keeping them stuck where they are.
Fake it till you make it.
That.
This falsified version of affirmations to say, I am enough, I am this, without recognizing the patterns that are moving behind the scenes.
Facts.
Those need love too.
They do.
Those need love too. They need to be
100%.
acknowledged. They need to be seen, because they're like, F it, I'm going to ruin your life, like whether you see it or not. So you get to acknowledge these patterns through this and then move them, because they want to be seen too. You can't just override these experiences. The fake it till you make it thing, man, that threw me off for so long.
So long.
That does not serve you.
You can say I am worthy in a mirror over and over and over and over again until the cows come home. If you haven't taken the time to actually love the parts of you that feel unworthy and understand why you have these parts that feel unworthy within yourself, you can't say you're worthy enough to ever feel worthy. You have to understand and alchemize the unworthiness into the worth.
Oof.
And it's through that you ultimately find the capacity to truly feel worthy.
Yeah, the unworthiness gets you to feeling worthy. That's exactly it.
How about that paradox for you?
How about it? Nice.
Nice. Nice, dude. So spirituality is sick.
Transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. Transcendent.
So those are the 5 days. That's what we do in the challenge.
It is.
Do you want to listen?
But yeah, let's play a little note from Callie. Actually, before we do that, let's end with that, because I think that's a beautiful thing to kind of wrap up after we talk about collective consciousness. Because the important thing I think that we get at here is that this formula that we're giving you in this podcast, in this episode of this podcast, is a great formula. It works. Mm-hmm. The real power behind this challenge comes from the container, comes from the community, comes from a collective agreement to hold each other through whatever the comes up. And I think that's really important to remember, is that you might be listening to this podcast. It's like, yeah, cool. This stuff all sounds amazing. Or you might be listening to it and realize, I'm out of here, but peace out, A-Town. We're okay with that. But it's understanding that it's the collective. Mm-hmm. It's all these humans, generally around 100 people that come into this challenge, that come together with a focused intention to show up for one another, to support one another, to be there for one another, and to ultimately transform as a unit. And so, like I've said, this theory is great. These steps are great. But if you're not in a container that is conducive to really feeling supported, it doesn't work the same way. The magic doesn't happen.
Yeah, just like you've adapted these things that we all have done, we've adapted to take on these patterns, take on these stories. We've adopted them from people. This collective consciousness, we realize, it's possible. Because people are having these insights, they're having these moments, they're having these transformations on these calls, at these lives, in the experience. They're like, yes, that moves us. When we see it in somebody else, we can know it in ourselves. So being in that collective container, being in that sacred space, we know we're held in it. And ours, we're not even in person. This is virtual. People are all over the world, and they show up and they get held in this container. We're able to hold them, and we have mentors as well. We have women that come and hold also. It's not just Cam and I, but we are able to hold this space, and people can then give themselves in this space, can then really open up. And it's so rare in our regular society that we can really fully be seen. And so in that, we see people in their power. We're like, I can see that in me because I see it in you. And you want to celebrate them. And while you're celebrating them, you're celebrating yourself. And so in these containers, we actually get to amplify what's going on inside of us that we probably couldn't do alone. Both Cam and I are big advocates of this. Like when you're with people, when you're with the people that are moving along this journey towards transformation, it's so much more potent than what we could do on our own every time.
Yes. Hell yeah. 100%. Couldn't have said it better. Beautiful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play a clip from Callie May. And she sent us this video after the challenge. And we're playing it not to toot our horns. She does talk a lot about our capacity and our ability to support people, which we receive. And we're so honored to hear these words. What we really want to impart on all of you here is that you are capable of shifting anything within yourself. You are capable of doing this. This comes from you. Yes, Ryan and I, our mentors, the rest of the embodied team, support and facilitate the experience. But it's you guys that ultimately leans the and cultivates the energy to transform.
Yes. And we also wanted to share her specifically because she did so much, as we mentioned her, in that week with so much going on. It was not that she was like, oh, I'm showing up, I have space, I can do this. She had a lot going on in her life, so much that we couldn't even get into here. And we felt this could be a good experience. Potentially you can resonate with parts of her experience, parts of her story, to be like, wow, I can see that in myself. Because when we can see it in somebody else, we know it's possible for us. So, Callie, take it away. Let's see how this audio turns out.
Action! Hey everyone, my name is Callie May, and I just completed my week with Ryan and Cam, changing my freaking story! That feels good to say that. The space that they held. I'm almost speechless for the depth, the power, the compassion, the push, I could go on forever, but I'm not gonna lie, I actually was a bit hesitant to sign up originally because I thought, oh, 2 dudes, like, I don't know. I always, like, seem to go to female healers or female counselors or female in general, and I am so glad that I got to work with these guys because they are freaking epic. The energy that they bring to this week was outstanding, and they cracked into my soul. They cracked into my soul. I have worked with so many healers and people and psychologists and all these different things for the last 8 years, and no one has brought me to the place I am at today like these 2 guys, Cam and Ryan. Thank you. Thank you so freaking much. You have given me a space to become a better version of me. Or me, actually just being me. And my motherhood and a wife and just how I interact with humans, and now I'm recognizing emotional intelligence. Oh, it's just such powerful stuff, guys. I'm beyond grateful for being a part of the week, meeting all those humans. If you are on the edge of your seat and you don't know if you want to partake in the next Changing Your Story challenge, jump, because you're not gonna fly if you don't jump. Spread those wings and fucking fly, baby. You will not regret it. I sure heck don't, and I can't wait to keep working with the dudes. Bye guys. Cam and Ryan, you guys are the best.
Love you, Callie. Oh, we see you. We see you.
And that video like brings a lot of emotion. A lot of emotion. And it's such a reminder of how humble we can get with this work, because that's her. She did that.
Yeah.
That is a human that leaned into her challenges, her pain, her limitations, all of these things that she felt she couldn't do, and she overcame them. She did. It wasn't Ryan. It wasn't me. It wasn't our mentors or facilitators. It was her. She did that for herself. And when I hear that love for herself and that gratitude for herself and that power that she found, it just opens my heart in the most beautiful, beautiful way. And I'm just so grateful for the work that we get to do and for what we get to witness humans do.
That's truly it, right? We just get to witness this. We get to hold the space. We get to see people in their power. Sometimes provide a little bit of support, but it is really about them. Everyone's their own healer. And she's an example of that. And we've had so many beautiful people go through these experiences. Callie was just one that comes up today that we wanted to mention. It's so special. We see you. We feel you. And if you're not at that place yet and you see her and you're like, oh no, I don't know if I'll ever get there, it's impossible. Every single human being has this ability.
Yeah.
Every single human being. That's why we bring so many different humans through these experiences. The Change Your Story Challenge is for all people. We all have stories. We all have limiting beliefs. It's just amazing to see the transformation that can happen literally in 5 days.
Yeah.
Accumulated in 5 days, she realized what she was capable of. Amazing. Oh, yes.
Life's good.
Yes.
Life's really good.
What a gift.
There's so much living to be had on the other side of your healing, friends. Yeah. There's so much living to be had. Believe it, feel it, trust it, and move through that resistance, because holy does the world keep opening up.
That's it.
That's it. That's all.
Stay lit.
Stay lit, crew.